Hi folks, welcome to Cortisco's Chess Center. Please like, share, and subscribe as we share our love for the greatest game in the world, chess. Hi folks, welcome back. Wow, wow, wow. What an amazing freaking game. I've never seen anything like it. I thought the 5 pawns for a piece one against Aronian was tough. This is absolutely amazing. And for a lot of reasons. Let's get to it. As this is from America Cup Champions 2022. This is round 3, game 1. It's amazing. As white is Fabiano Caruana. And as black is Lanier Dominguez, both playing for the U.S. now. Lanier is just a solid player. Hardly anything ruffles him. Wait till you see this. This is incredible to me. Incredible amount of controlling your emotions and patience and all kinds of stuff. Let's get to it. As white, Fabiano, he plays C4. So Dominguez sat there for a few seconds. Now the time controls on this are 90 minutes plus 30 seconds. No second time control, period. Everything is plus 30 seconds, 90 minutes on each side. That's it. Which used to play that way years ago. I'm glad they brought it back. So let's go through the opening here. This is symmetrical English. We'll go through the opening because I'm not. This is really about opening. It's about the game itself. And this is all cutting-edge theory. Now, you have to understand something. Right now, both players have more time than when they started. Dominguez fell right into Caruana's preparation, and I'll show you what I mean. Bishop, knight. That's an amazing move. I never would have saw that myself, frankly. Knight. E3. A6. H3, A takes, knight takes C4. Now black's up a pawn. But look how miserable his position is. And let's continue on. Now the computer likes is the best move, queen to B3, which I think is incredibly natural. It just is. It wins a pawn. But Caruana has something up his sleeve. G5, and you're going to see that's an incredible move. Now, right now, both players have more time on their clocks, an hour and 30 minutes. One has almost an hour and 34. Dominguez has 1 hour and 31 minutes. So they've been playing quick enough where they have more time than when they started. And this must be a novelty because Dominguez goes into a think and a very long one. Black goes D5. That was a 43-minute think on D5. 43 minutes. Absolutely amazing. It's incredible to me. And Fabiano immediately goes A4. B takes. Bishop takes. Pawn takes. Rook takes, queen takes, check, queen C6. I mean, this looks absolutely miserable for black. Absolutely miserable. Look at this bishop on C8, the light squared bishop for black. It's just horrendous. Absolutely horrid. So what happens? Queen takes, pawn takes, bishop e5. Look how black is tied up. He can't move this bishop or this pawn falls. He can't move pawn up, pawn takes, bishop takes check, and he loses the rook. He's absolutely frozen. His bishop is frozen, his rook is frozen. What a horrible position to play in, especially at these high stakes. King e7. That was a 20-minute think. So right now, Fabiano Caruana, who started out with an hour and 30 minutes, now has 5 minutes more than when he started. Dominguez, on the other hand, is down to 12 minutes total with this horrible position. Absolutely horrible. Look at the double C pawns, and it's just bishop is frozen. His rook is frozen. He can't move the rook because rook takes. He can't do any of that stuff. He can't push. After pawn takes, rook takes. It's just horrible. If he goes pawn takes, what's he going to do there? He's absolutely stymied. White plays a beautiful move, knight to e4. What he's doing, he's threatening to go knight here. Bishop b7. What else can he do? Now, oddly enough, the computer only shows about a half a pawn advantage for white, even though black is up a pawn, remember. Rook to h4. Get the rook in the game. And you're going to see how long black's rook sits there. So what does he do? He goes back to e8. Right where he came from. Wasted tempo. Right now, Caruana has 121 minutes on his clock. Dominguez has 5 minutes and change. Knight d2. Pawn comes up. Knight takes. Black can't play pawn takes or he loses the rook. So he goes bishop a6 to hit the knight. Knight checks. Bishop takes. And there's that rook still sitting in the corner. In fact, that dark squared bishop for black never moved, just to take. Never was in the game at all. Bishop b5. Bishop e5. It's just go right back. This is just horrible for black. It's one of those things. The game is a little bit of an advantage for white. But here's the thing of it. When you get positions like this in tournament games, and I played them before, the position is so horrible. You have to sit there for 20, 30, 40 moves and just put up with the misery knowing that one slip, it's all over. Because the position is so bad and you played it so poorly. King f8. What else can he do? He's got to guard the g-pawn. f3. King over. Yep, he's got to guard. He's got to guard the rook. Look how that rook is just plastered in there. Now you're looking in the battlefield, so to speak. White's got a bishop and a rook, and all black has to work with in the open board is a bishop. These positions are so hard. G6. Unbelievable. Pawn takes. Rook d4. Here comes the rook. G5. And it looks like that black, Dominguez, is slowly starting to squirrel out of this. Rook checks. Rook goes up. Rook d7. He doesn't want to change rooks. Rook to g8. He's got to guard the pawn. King f2. h5. e4. King h6. Here comes the white king. As you should be, because he's an important attacking piece in the end game. With the queen's off the board. King b3. h4. Here comes the passer. He goes g4 to block it up. Doesn't want to open. King h7. King comes the other way. King g6. Bishop And they're just maneuvering now. Now, I'll give you an idea. Caruana, as white, has 21 minutes on his clock. Dominguez has 1 minute and 11 seconds on a complicated position like this. King H7. What else can he do? He's stuck. Rook A8. Finally, the rook gets to move. Yay. I'll give that a little applause here. Yeah, I did that for fun. Rook takes check. King H6. Bishop F6. Rook finally checks. King E3. And this is the move that Dominguez pulls out of his behind, I think. Because right now it's over. It's about a half a point advantage, almost a full point pawn advantage for white. E5. Giving up that pawn. White takes it. H3. Unbelievable. Here comes the pawn. How can he stop it? Rook to G8. Get behind the king. Stop that pawn with a rook. C5. And this is a move that I thought was great. It doesn't even show in the top 3 choices of the computer. It's amazing. And that's, oh, here it comes up on the computer now. F4. G takes, king takes. Rook F2. Finally, he's going to get an escort. That pawn down the field to become a queen. King G3. Got to bring the king back to help. Rook E2. Goes back to F3. What do you do? What do you do? Rook to D2. G5 check. Let's go back a little bit here. Right now, before 47, rook to D2 for black. Caruana has almost 8 minutes on his clock. Dominguez has 1.5 minutes. Leonard Dominguez sat there before he went rook to D2. And when he moved, he didn't realize his clock was running down. You get so caught up on what you're thinking about. He had 1 second left when he grabbed the rook on E2. And he blunders. Rook D2. Absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. Because even if he goes check here, that's a draw because the king just goes back. So let's go back to rook D2. But the best move on the board, and Caruana's got plenty of time. He almost has 8 minutes. And he finds it. G5 check. And it went from maybe half a pawn advantage for white to a 6 point, almost a 7 point advantage instantly. King goes to H5. Rook to H8 check. King comes back. Rook to H6 check. King can't take because the bishop will check. King F7. G6 check. King E7. G7. How can he stop the pawn? Rook G2. Figures he can. But rook just takes H3. And it's over. And that's where Dominguez resigned. What an incredible game. Reason why I think this game is so incredible, 153 moves. I went a little fast. I don't want to make the video too long. You can stop the video and analyze at your leisure. But Dominguez he took a 40-something minute think. Took up a ton of his time. And he was so far behind in such a horrible position. I'll tell you, mentally, when you're playing a game, a tournament game, especially an important game like this, top-notch, world-class game, there's tons of pressure on you. And he sat there cool as a cucumber the whole time. He fought his way back. He clawed his way back, inch by inch, millimeter by millimeter. And he finally got, after all that struggle and work, a drawn position. And then he made the one bad move, rook to d2, which lost the game at the end. He had a chance to draw it. And I give him credit for hanging in there the whole time. He's only human. But the guy was just awesome when it came to keeping his cool. Now, I wouldn't have taken 48-minute think, but I'm not Linear Dominguez, one of the top players in the world. It's a lesson, I think, to a lot of us players. And I was in a tournament a few years ago. My best result ever. It was a 6-round tournament, excuse me. And I won the first 5 games in a row. And I went on another individual who didn't win every game. He won 4 and drew 1. So he had 4.5, and I had 5. All I had to do was draw. That's it. All I had to do was draw, and I win the section. Back then I was 63 years old. I've never won a section in a major tournament before. And I was exhausted. It was the 3rd day of playing. But I was really hyped up. And I always played a London system. And I moved the wrong pawn in the opening, which put me in one of those positions like Dominguez here. You just have a horrid position. And I completely collapsed mentally. Completely collapsed. And I just destroyed myself, made bad move after bad move. Instead of keeping my cool, in fact, my opponent, after I lost, my opponents always do was move the queen. I think it was the d3 or whatever it was. It didn't matter. I didn't want to do that because it was so ugly. But I wanted to keep my pawn chain intact. I wanted, not get an ugly position. Sometimes you need to do what you need to do to survive. And that's what Lanier did in that one mistake at the end. He had 1 second left on his clock when he moved the rook to d2. So this is a really good lesson for all chess players, no matter what's your strength. Just hang in there. It's tough. It's tough, especially when I was like the last game. All I did was draw, win the section, which I've never done before. I'm only a 1,600 player. These guys are world class. But pressure is still pressure. Emotion is still emotion. If you have time on your clock, unlike Dominguez, get up and go outside. Those of you that smoke, have a cigarette. Go in the bathroom, do your business, put some water on your face, take a few deep breaths, maybe stretch really good. If you've got 5 minutes to kill, like I said, walk outside, walk around the playing hall, get your blood flowing, come back down and look at the board fresh. I didn't do that. I sat there and I tortured myself for 15 minutes trying to figure a way out of it without making the position ugly. And I screwed up. So chess is it's not just a mental game, it's an emotional game. If you can keep your emotions in check, you can do well no matter what your rating. Anyway, folks, I thought you liked this game. I thought it was absolutely amazing. And the patience of a saint on Dominguez, waiting slowly, millimeter by millimeter, inch by inch, to crawl his way back into the game. And he got it to a dead draw. And with 1 second left on his clock, he miscued. And that's the way it goes, folks. Anyway, well, like I said, chess is such a beautiful game, but it's a love-hate relationship, that's for sure. It can It can cause you so much happiness and joy as a player. And it can cause you so much misery at the same time. Very much like life. I think it was Fisher that said chess is life. And it's true. Until the next game. No, the next game and next time. Goodbye and good luck.